Hello and welcome. So it's so great to be getting back and creating more content. Just getting everything set up again. I know it's been a long time since I've done a video, and I'm excited to start doing it again. I want to try and get a video out at least once every fortnight. I'm hoping even quicker than that, and I want to do some new series, some 101. So I had a lot of good feedback around my original 101 series of videos, and everyone really liked them, which was great. I really love getting the feedback, how I can do better, how I can change. I love sharing and teaching, and I love learning right at the same time, which is why I do it. Now, had a lot of change in my life, moving house, moving jobs, a lot of things. So we're starting fresh with some new content. Now, previously my content was all on around automation, focus on automation, and more specifically, in the later ones was around DevSecOps, and cloud management, security, and around dev tool chains and those sort of things. Now, this is just an evolution, something that's really hot on the press at the moment. Whether it's your government organisations like your Australian Signals Directorate, putting out things around warning, cybersecurity warnings, around the vulnerability management, trusted source, like where is your open source data coming from and apps coming from, and around SBOMs or software bill of materials, around do you know what you're actually running in your environment? Do you know where it came from? Right. These are really big things around especially for getting compliance in other countries as well, whether it's FedRAMP and those sort of things. So it's really, really topical at the moment. Obviously, a lot of large malware, things that have hit the libraries market as well, but obviously within containers and open source in general. So today I want to do a one-on-one session around ChainGuard. So ChainGuard pretty much, I made this market, highlighted a problem, saw a problem that needed to be fixed, saw a problem that even the largest engineering and IT companies in the world, don't have the manpower or the ability to be able to reduce their platform, I guess the containers and stuff they're running on, reduce the CVE count to something that's palatable. Now, one of these great things is I've been talking about shift left for years, right? And this is a good, like literally with ChainGuard, you start left, right? ChainGuard wants to be your trusted source for all open source, and is currently on their way of doing that. So at the moment have about, as we can see here on the thing, they've got 1824 projects that are available. So that roughly makes up about 95% of the used open source in the world. Obviously, there's about 10,000 odd projects out there that are actively used, but it's like everything. There's 80% use all of this, and then the other things are the more your edge cases. But anyway, when I was testing out ChainGuard, I was absolutely blown away. I've had my app, my voting app, and other things that you might have seen in my previous videos that we used to run on containers, and I sort of compared that around. Let's look at ChainGuard images and pull them down. So using both base application images like your Python and Python and Java and those sort of images, and also the application images like your Postgres and your Redis and those sort of things, right? So you can come to this site, images.chainguard.dev. You can see about all the images. It's absolutely insane. Obviously, they build everything, not everything from source. We're not just we're talking every dependency, every transitive dependency, everything that's in there, build from source to be able to give you one, malware resistant and secure supply chain that's verifiable, which is awesome for anyone who's had to spend days, if not weeks, doing security documentations to get things ATO'd, right, as an example. We've all been there. It makes that a hell of a lot easier because it's all done for you. And then obviously on top of that, the CV reduction and how they do it, it's pretty crazy. I actually didn't think it was real when I first used it. I've been using ChainGuard now for a while, so I wanted to just give a little bit of a 101 intro into and actually show you that this stuff works and how easy it is. The time spent of engineering teams trying to do the same thing, just your ROI on things like this is awesome, and ChainGuard pretty much created this market, right? Coming definitely years ahead of anyone else in how they do it, and the scale is absolutely insane. So let's dive into it. Let's have a bit of a look. I'm really excited to be able to show you. All right, so with ChainGuard, we've got ChainGuard has images, libraries, and VMs. So images being your container images, your nice secure container runtime, as well as the application and the packages that are required to run your application or run what it is you're trying to run. And then you've got your libraries, which is your instead of when you do, pip install Flask or something like that as an example, grabbing that from the ChainGuard libraries rather than PyPy.org as an example, and same thing for Java and Node.js, right? And then you've got VMs, which again, similar to containers, sort of more of an ephemeral VM or application VMs that have got a hardened, secured, minimal footprint, no to low CVEs, and malware resistant. All right, and malware resistant because the supply chain secure, and that's where most of the malware gets injected. Right, rarely gets injected in source. And obviously, it does. Those things can't be protected against, especially when ChainGuard doesn't own the source. But checks and balances and everything else in place there with a secure supply chain and build process is that you mitigate 98% of all of those. Anyway, let's get into actually some cool stuff and look at how this all works. So what I'm going to do here is I've got I'm in new at the moment, so let's go back and go into original. So what I've done here is I had my voting app, original voting app. So if you look at this, I didn't really change much in here, but Redis and Postgres, and then I go into each one of these. So each one of these, if we have a look at the Docker file on these, is, I'm doing Python Slim as an example there, and I think I've got Node Alpine for, is it it's either the worker or the results? No, they're worker. The results, sorry. So it's Node 20 Alpine, right? So very, very simple installs there. What I'll do is let's build it. So let's I should have it saved here. Let's do Docker Compose up on the original. All right. So okay. So that should be started. Let's let's go back to here, refresh that. Cool. So that's working. We can vote gripe with Trivy. With this, powered by traditional container images, right? So this is what I was using beforehand. Had a bit of a facelift, but it's all working as expected. Now, if we go back, what I'm going to do is kick off the gripe scanning. So just a little, essentially, help if I can. So we'll kick that off. So that's going to use gripe and scan all of these running container images. Right? So we can see it's creating a whole bunch of things. But while that, let's actually look. I've got Docker desktop here, so let's look at Redis as an example. Right? We can see the vulnerabilities. Cool. Postgres. We can see the vulnerabilities. Look at original results. Got a few there with Node. Learning. Got a few there. So, they're all going through. Hopefully we'll kick this off. It should then summarize it at the end. We can see, obviously, as part of gripe, gives you where those severities are there. So there we go. We got 269 CVEs. Now, when we look at it, like everyone's a bit different, but what I've been in my discussions that I've had, it's usually tens of hours per CVE to triage and then remediate. Now, that's because you've got to be able to go through each one. Doesn't matter for me. Can I mitigate this? Do we need to address it? Are we going to take the risk on it? All the usual stuff that's got to happen. And then, if you do, yes, you've got to patch it and fix it and then sync that all out and do all the things that need to be done around it. And have that in place. Now, this is something that is either being done very poorly or it's lagging quite a lot, and organizations are at risk, right, with the amount of vulnerabilities that are there. So we can see the breakdown of there, cool, works. This is what I was using previously, and where we go, right? Let's now have a bit of a look at the next one. So let's pull this down. Let's go down. There we go. We'll stop all that. And then we'll go back here, just make sure that's all stopped. Yep, cool. And then, because the new app, I will do this. Should be on, because I can have both of them running. No, okay, that's not running. Cool. Now let's go into our new one. So let's go there. Oh. Yeah, and in there, I have a look at Dock Compose. So same thing, except getting it from ChainGuard. And if we just have a look, like there's pretty much drop in replace, right? And this is what makes it really, really cool. Is you can see it's the same, except I've basically, instead of pointing to the upstream, the public one, is I'm grabbing it from ChainGuard. And instead of CMD, I'm using entry point. Pretty much the only thing. There is an app there that can actually convert existing Docker files over to ChainGuard, especially if they're a little bit more complex. But generally, it's pretty hassle-free to be able to put these in. So what I'm going to do is build this up again. Use the same command. Yeah. Cool. And then we'll do another scan on it. All right. So while that's going, we'll have a look, make sure that it's actually up and running. So let's go back to here, refresh that, and there it is. Right. So it's still going, except now it's powered by ChainGuard images. And if we go in to here as an example and have a bit of a look, so we'll look at Redis, 0 CVs. Right. As an example, Postgres, 0 CVs. Right. Now the voting API will have a CVs. Yes. So, and I'll show you why that actually is. Right. So these will come into during here. So these CVs are actually in Flask, as you can see. Right. So even though the ChainGuard image itself is CVE free, because I went pip install Flask for my web side of the app, and it's pulled down the CVs as part of that, right? And this is where ChainGuard libraries will come in, and we'll talk about that on another track. But this is just a general 101 intro. Let's go back and hopefully catch the last of this. Yep, so there's an NPM one. And there it is. So we went from, how much was it? 269 down to 9. So reducing 260 CVEs. So if we take that from before, if we got, let's just say, even minimal 10 hours triage and remediation per container, that's 2,000 hours of remediation that was just saved by changing the container images, right? Now what's great is these container images are built nightly from source, update them regularly, and yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff, obviously having that SBOM and that signed provenance around, when it was built, where it was built, what went into it during build time, all the dependencies and transitive dependencies included in that as well, right? So it just makes those things really, really easy. Anyway, look, I think that's a good first step for a 101 intro into the new series of ChainGuard videos that I'll be doing. Really look forward to. Please give me any feedback that you want, and let's go on this adventure together. Anyway, until next time, stay safe out there. See you, bye.